All About Writing with Ben and Sara.
Welcome to All About Writing, the podcast that covers everything about the world of writing from the inside out. This is episode 71, part 12 on writing life. I'm Sara, here with my co-host Ben, who is an award-winning, best-selling author and ghostwriter, editor, and publisher.
And I'm Ben, here with my co-host Sara, who is an award-winning, best-selling author, screenwriter, editor, and TED Talk presenter. And today, we're talking about beta readers.
Yes, and I've never used one, so this will be fun. Ben, you've used them.
That's right. So yeah, I'll be talking about beta readers.
Yeah. So what is a beta reader? And because it's not an editor. It's
no.
It's a job. It's not. It just does not mean your mom, right?
Right.
Usually.
See,
okay.
You know all about beta readers. Yeah.
See, done.
Not an editor, not your mom. That's it. Done. Okay, that's our episode for the day, folks. No. Okay. So a beta reader is someone who you get to read your book before it's ready to go to an editor. So when do you use a beta reader? Well, usually once you've finished your manuscript and you feel like you've got it as far as you can go, but you're just not sure it's ready for an editor yet, you can ask someone else to just give it a read and give you your thoughts. You can do it when the book is done, or you can do it when you're only partway through. Like, let's say it's your first book and you've written like the first 12 chapters and you just need some feedback. Am I going in the right direction here? Is this making sense? And so a beta reader is someone who is not an editor, because an editor is someone who you pay and they're going to give you real solid professional advice, but you pay them. A beta reader is a friend or an associate who you trust to give you some honest feedback. So it has to be someone who likes to read. Ideally, it's someone who reads the genre that you're writing in. That's actually really important.
Good bet.
It should be someone that you know well enough that you're not asking them a huge burden favor to do this, because it does take time. But it also should be someone who probably is not family, like your mom or your spouse, or your bestie, because they are less likely to actually critique you if there's something wrong with the book. Like, it's great if you give it to someone and they say, "Oh, I loved it." Well, thanks, but I actually wanted feedback, because the whole purpose of using a beta reader is to get specific feedback. And ideally, you'll have certain questions you will say to them. Like, you should say, okay, did you find that the book was ever too slow? Or do you find that the growth of the character makes sense? Do you like the main character, right? Like, there's some specific questions. If you're not sure about, as a writer, I'm just not sure I'm landing this, you can either give it to the beta reader and say, "Can you please read this for me? And here are some questions that I want you to consider as you go." Or, depending on what the question is, like if it's a surprise, like is the question, "Did the surprise at the end work?" You have to ask them that afterwards, and read the book and then say, "Okay, what did you think? Great, now I have a few questions for you really quickly." And the reason you want to use a beta reader is just to get that first level of response from someone who likes the kind of book that you're writing, but is not a professional. So A, it doesn't cost anything, and B, the feedback you're going to get is going to be a little more casual. Whereas an editor will dive in with detail and will give you all kinds of great feedback. A beta reader will give you their impression. As a reader, that's who they are. Someone who read your book, they'll be like, yeah, I liked it, but I felt it kind of dragged through here, or yeah, the relationship between these two characters, I don't understand why it was what it was, right? And a beta reader will very likely not be able to give you solutions, but they'll be able to tell you what the problems are, or likewise what things worked really well, and you go, okay, I obviously nailed that, but this needs work. So it's kind of like a precursor to editing, where you're not really committing anything. So if that makes sense.
It does. And it's actually interesting because you just fixed or, enlightened me on two things. I thought one, you paid beta readers.
Mm.
So that's news to me that they're free. Two, I thought that beta readers came later. I did not realize you gave them your manuscript before an editor. I thought it was like it's been edited, I've been workshopping it, and now before I like maybe go out on sub or out to get representation or even before I self-publish, like it's like that, it's like they read your arcs. I thought beta readers read your advanced reader copies. So I
Yeah.
totally had a incorrect visual in my head and understanding of what a beta reader does and when they happen. So
Well, your vision was not incorrect. It was just incomplete. You
well,
certainly can use beta readers at any time in the process.
okay.
You,
But
you
like, are
can.
beta readers reading your arcs or no? That's a
No,
different type of reader.
that is, yeah, because at that point, when someone is reading your arcs, your advanced reader copies,
Yeah.
the book is done at that point. It
Got it.
it is done, and it's gone to an advanced reader, hopefully to get a review from them. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
like an arc, an advanced reader copy is once the book has been edited and put together and it is proofed and it is finished, it gets sent to as an arc, usually to other authors in the genre. Hopefully, they will read it, they will like it, and they will give you a review that they can then
Or
put
a
on the
better,
cover. You know, yeah,
okay.
that's what an arc is, and that's what those readers are. No,
Got
a
it.
beta reader is definitely earlier in the process where you, as the author, either you know something's wrong, but you don't know what it is, so you just want to get some feedback from someone who you think will give you honest feedback, who's not an editor, is what's more informal. Or if you're just writing it and you don't know if it's good or not. So like especially for like first time writers, this is your
Yeah.
first book. Yeah, I have no idea if this is ready for an editor or not. I just want to get some feedback. So I'm going to reach out to friends, or maybe like if you're in a writing group, that's a great place to get
Yeah,
beta readers.
critique group, writing groups,
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
writing clubs.
absolutely.
We've talked about those.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, if you're in a critique group or a writing club, like it's basically it's all baked into that. If you're not in one of those things, then a beta reader is someone you go find yourself, and it's generally a friend or an associate who you know likes your genre, whose opinion you respect, and is willing to do it. Because that's the thing. To ask someone to be a beta reader, it is a commitment of time for them. It takes a week or two generally to read a book, and you're asking them to not just read it, but to actually think about it and maybe take notes and give you feedback. So um, it's tricky with sometimes with beta readers too, as to are they going to actually deliver? Like you give it to them and then they don't, and this is one of the reasons why you don't want to bug people who are really close to you, because now if you're nagging your spouse to get the book back to you, I mean, it's just not a good idea for a happy
Well,
happy marriage.
yeah, and in a way, when you're asking a favor of a family member, it might not be high on the priority list for them too. Like, oh, it's my, my brother. I'll get back to him when I get back to him. It's not really that
Yeah.
urgent. So too, I just want to circle back with a question I had because you said you can kind of use beta readers anytime. So could I, if I'm a first time writer, I write my novel. I have my manuscript. I've gone through it a few times. I feel like, let's hope I did okay and it makes sense and I didn't miss any plot holes, etc. And I get a beta reader. And they came back with feedback and it's actually usable, or I use some of it, maybe not all of it, and I revise my manuscript. Now, I could go to the same beta reader or a new one, or could I then say, okay, now I feel like I could go to an editor, and an editor you pay, they make some changes, and now you have another version of your manuscript.
hmm
You go to beta reader again.
I mean, you can do whatever you like. I generally don't at that point,
Okay.
but
Like you've
but
paid, now you're locked in.
that's right. It's interesting. I've done both actually. My very first book that was published, Virtues of War, I had, I think, 5 beta readers. And what I would do is I would send them each act. so one act at a time. There were three acts in the book, and I sent them the first act because this is my first book. I really would like some feedback to that. Like, am I wasting my time here, or is this actually something good? And I had a few questions, and then the biggest question I would ask them at the end of Act One, say, is, "What do you think is going to happen next?" Because
Mm.
I know where I was going with the story, but I wanted to know, have I set that up? Like, or am I going to completely surprise you with where we're going in Act Two? So, um, that way I was able to get feedback after each act to make sure that I was going in the right direction. And most of my beta readers were quite good, and they all gave a variety of feedback. Like I made sure that I had people of different ages, and I had men and women reading just to get the different perspectives. And it's really interesting what some of the perspectives were that came back. And um, I didn't have to accept any of their advice, right? It's okay, that was your opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fair. I value your opinion, but maybe you didn't get what I was trying to do here. Or maybe I just don't agree with your take on that. Or maybe I'm like, duly noted. If I change two words, you will not be offended anymore. So I will do that, or whatever it is, right? Um, so that's usually when I think beta readers work well, is either while you're writing it or when you finish it before it goes to an editor. Because an editor is going to give you legitimately good, solid advice on how to improve the book. And an
And much
editor,
more unbiased, probably. In a way.
yes,
Yeah.
unbiased and thorough, and an editor can explain why they think what they think rather than a beta reader. You generally can't expect a beta reader to be able to go into literary theory, and structural dynamics and explain to you why. It's more just a feeling. Yeah, it didn't quite work for me, you know. Um, Whereas an editor is going to give you much more specific stuff. So does a beta reader replace an editor? No, 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 they do not. But they can be a very useful tool, particularly early on in your writing career when you need some feedback. And let's be honest, as authors, we do appreciate feedback. We do appreciate bringing someone into our world with us.
Right.
Um, but all that said, to fully answer your question, my latest book has already been through the editor. It is ready to go, but I just wanted one more bit of advice because there's a big surprise in this book, and I
Okay.
wanted to see if I nailed it because I know from my previous writing I'm not very good at surprises. Like I will never write mystery because I really struggle with that balance of giving you all the information but not totally telling you what's coming, so that when you do get the reveal you go, ah, of course it was all there but I didn't see it, right? I actually, as an author, really struggle with that. And my editor's feedback was that no, I hadn't done that very well. I had given it away too early. But then my editor admitted, but I'm an editor and I look for these things. And so maybe I saw what your average reader wouldn't see. I'm like, okay. So I did some tweaking and changed some things, and I thought, I can't give it back to my editor because she already knows the secret. So I have to give it to someone who does not know anything about this book, which was hard, by the way, because the usual people that I would ask to, maybe be a beta reader for me, I've talked about this book with them, like while I was writing it. So they know what the secret is. Like, ah, so it was actually very hard to find a beta reader who I trust, who can read fairly quickly, who I know will do it, who likes sci-fi, and who doesn't know what I'm doing. So, um, so in that case, I actually did give it to someone after the editor. It's unusual, but you
Okay.
can you can use them whenever you want.
Which I think is good, kind of good to know. Like anytime you're questioning, maybe that if you really are questioning or you really just need just somebody else's vibe. We get so close to what we write. We just do, and we own it, and it's our darling, whether or not we admit it or not. It's hard, and so
Mhm.
getting that additional feedback is crucial to just making sure even that you feel good about what you're putting out in the world.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. That's a
um,
great way to summarize it. I think a beta reader, it gives you that reassurance at sort of a low non highly invested level, just sort of like, okay, what did you think?
Yeah.
Great. I appreciate the feedback and I'll make some changes. So yeah, beta readers.
Beta readers.
Yeah.
There it is. That's our show. The end. All right, so that's it. Beta readers, thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of these chats. Feel free to leave a review. It helps us a ton. And also don't forget to look for Ben at ben@rcoles.com, as well as on Facebook and Instagram.
And you can look for Sara at saradahman.com and on Instagram. Thanks for joining us today. Please reach out if there are any topics that you'd like us to cover, and we'll see you again when we next chat all about writing.
This has been All About Writing with Ben and Sara.